my name is Natalie, and today I'm going to be talking about The Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This book, I had just finished reading The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater, and I was kind of on a high from that. That series is really good, and if you've never heard of it, I strongly recommend it. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about The Six of Crows. Now, the beginning of The Six of Crows was a little boring for me, and I had a hard time getting into it, but once I got into the story, I was hooked. This book had a very good way of telling a story. The characters are all very thought out, very diverse, and very beautifully written about. My favorite is probably Matthias, but I relate mostly to Wylan, as he's the innocent one of the group. So to give a quick plot summary of the book, here's kind of what it's about. There are 6 people whose lives come together based on what's happening in the world. Basically, in this world, it takes place in this world called the Grishaverse, which is a land that's kind of similar to our own, but not exactly. There are people who have powers and who are able to do certain things based on those powers, and these people are called Grisha and are seen as special and almost a little bit elite. But there's also a lot of crime and other things that go on in this world that are a bit more intense, and everything is kind of complicated in the way that it's talked about. So let me basically try to explain this. This land itself takes place in Ketterdam, which is kind of like I don't want to say rinky-dinky town, but rinky-dinky town. There's a lot of bad things happening there, a lot of crime, and a lot of people who are doing underhand dealings. One of the main people in this place is Kaz Brecker, who is one of the leaders of this thing called the Crow Club. The Crow Club is kind of a gang that goes around and does underhand dealings to try and make as much money as possible. Now, Kaz has a lot of backstory, and he is a super interesting character, and you learn a lot about him. He does a lot of things that are questionable and that I personally did not agree with, but I completely understand where he's coming from after reading the series, and I do love him very dearly, despite everything. But when you start off the book, you probably won't like him. Anyway, the whole book is basically a heist. Now, if you don't know what a heist is, it's kind of like a mission to do something and to get something. So, to obtain a certain thing that you're trying to obtain. I know that's not like the best description, but that's kind of what a heist is. Now, the heist in this book is they're trying to find this person who supposedly has the records of how to make this drug or powder that can make the Grisha lose their powers and can make them have slightly different powers and make them basically monsters and zombies to the powder. So kind of like a drug that makes them do what people want them to do. So kind of makes them like tamed animals, which is really creepy. And yeah, there's definitely a reason why they're trying to do this. So the reason it's called the Six of Crows is because there are 6 of them, and they're doing it kind of through the Crow Club. And there's a part in there where they talk about why is it the crow, and it's because, you know, a group of crows is called a murder, and crows are seen as kind of a meaner bird and very cunning, and that definitely describes a lot of characters in this book. So, like I was saying, there are 6 main characters in this book. The first is Kaz Brecker, who has a limp but is a very cunning and very masterful mind. Basically, he's very good at underhand dealings. He knows how to make people bend to his will, and he's kind of manipulative. He's also very dark inside, and he has a lot of things that he hides. He also wears gloves and will not take them off in the presence of other people and cannot touch other people skin to skin, or else he basically has a panic attack. Second, we have Inej, who is a girl who was part of this thing called the menagerie, basically was a prostitute, but it was not her decision to do that. She was kind of captured and sold into it, which is really awful, but after meeting Kaz and after meeting the Crow Club, she finally kind of found her place, almost. Not exactly, but when she was younger, she was very good at the circus, and she was a circus performer, and she loved that. Her family was descended from, circus performers, and she was very good at balancing on tight ropes, and she's very graceful, and she is overall a really amazing character. She has a lot of development throughout the 2 books in this series, the duology, and she definitely comes around and finally learns how to trust people again. The third character that's in this book is Matthias. Matthias is kind of related to another character named Nina, and the 2 of them kind of have a history in the past. Nina is another one of the main characters, and she is a Grisha. She has powers to be able to help people who are kind of sick or dying, and she can kind of revive them, and she is very, very good at that, but in her past, she had a thing with Matthias, and Matthias is one of those people that is trying to, his kind, I guess, is trying to catch the Grisha, and he very much loves his kind. They took good care of him, but in a series of events, he kind of got betrayed, and have a kind of complicated past based off of that betrayal. So that's kind of 2 more of the crows. And okay, another one of the characters is Jesper. He is skilled at weaponry. His favorite weapons are guns and revolvers. He's very talented with all of that kind of jazz. And again, he has a complicated past, specifically with his father, and just how they kind of interact. If you've ever seen NCIS, it's kind of like the relationship between Tony and his father. Just that kind of dynamic is kind of what they have, if that makes sense. So that's kind of Jesper's character and situation. The last character is Wylan, and while he is very innocent and very, kind of happy-go-lucky, look on the bright side of things character, he definitely has a very dark and very sad past. One of the things he carries around and is known for is his flute, and he plays it kind of to remember the good times in his life. There's a lot of things circulating about his father. In fact, his father is one of the main antagonists in the book, and mostly through the 2nd book too, and kind of the whole story revolves around that relationship and what Wylan does to kind of help the crows and defeat his father. There's also a lot of stuff in the 2nd book, which I know we're not really talking about. We're talking about the first one, but a lot of stuff in the 2nd book about his family situation. One more important thing that I would like to mention in this book is that their kind of slogan throughout the whole 2 books is no mourners, no funerals. And that kind of passes among them as good luck, and that's a quote from the book. And whenever they're going into these missions or doing something dangerous, they always say that, no mourners, no funerals. It's kind of takes how dark this book can get at some points and really sets a mood on how the book kind of progresses and how it feels. This book definitely has a lot of dark and kind of not morbid, but definitely very violent things that happen, and you kind of are not expecting them to happen, but they do. And it's full of twists, turns, and a lot of page-turning action. The second book I definitely could not put down. This one, again, I said it was hard to get through the first few chapters, but once you get in here, you really want to know what happens. All the characters make you think. I love them all. They're all very well-rounded, very well-crafted. There's plenty of couples and relationships that you want to fight for, and there's definitely a lot packed into this one book. So I hope you read The Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo.